Welcome back to Myths Unraveled. Like and subscribe if you enjoy this video. Beelzebub, known as the Lord of the Flies, stands as one of the most grotesque and compelling figures in demonology, a being whose dominion over decay, filth, and corruption is as absolute as it is horrifying. His title is not a mere poetic flourish, it is a reflection of his essence, his power, and his role in the moral and spiritual decay of the world. Flies, those relentless harbingers of rot, are more than just his symbols, they are his messengers, his eyes, his touch upon the world of the living. Where Beelzebub walks, they gather, swarming over the remnants of life, feeding on death, carrying the stench of corruption wherever they go. To understand Beelzebub's title is to grasp the intimate relationship he shares with the forces of decomposition, not just in the physical sense, but in the spiritual and moral realms as well. Flies are creatures that thrive in filth, in waste, in the remnants of what once was vital and vibrant. They descend upon corpses, on carrion, on the detritus of human excess. They represent a cycle of life, inverted, feeding not on what sustains, but on what is left behind. Beelzebub, as their lord, reigns over this cycle, not merely as an observer, but as the driving force behind it. His influence ensures that what is pure becomes tainted, what is whole becomes broken, and what is alive is drawn inevitably toward death and decay. The flies that accompany Beelzebub are not simply insects, but extensions of his will, agents of corruption that infiltrate the world in ways both subtle and overt. They slip through cracks, unseen, their buzzing a low, insistent reminder of what lurks just beneath the surface. They infest homes, temples, palaces, bringing with them not only disease, but a sense of unease, a creeping awareness that no place is truly clean, no soul truly untouched. Beelzebub's power lies in this insidiousness, in his ability to corrupt from within, to turn the familiar into the foul, the trusted into the tainted. Beelzebub's title also speaks to his role as a master of pestilence. In many tales, his arrival heralds not just moral decay, but literal plagues. Crops fail, livestock die, and humans fall ill, their bodies and minds succumbing to forces they cannot see, but can feel in every breath, every bite. The flies are vectors, carriers of his gifts, spreading sickness with every touch. In this way, Beelzebub becomes a god of ruin, his presence a blight upon the land, his name whispered in fear whenever disease takes hold. He is not content to corrupt souls, he must see the world itself reflect his dominion, must watch it wither and crumble under the weight of his influence. Yet Beelzebub's association with flies and filth is not merely about physical rot, it is about the deeper, more insidious rot of the soul. Just as flies gather on the dead and dying, so too does Beelzebub gather those whose spirits have been weakened by sin, by indulgence, by despair. He is drawn to the broken, to the hollow, to those whose hearts are fertile ground for corruption. His influence does not come as a thunderous assault, but as a slow, inevitable infestation. A thought here, a whisper there, until the mind is swarmed, the will overwhelmed. He feeds on these souls, not in a crude, violent way, but by letting them devour themselves, by encouraging the rot to spread until nothing remains but ruin. The image of Beelzebub, as the Lord of the Flies, also serves as a powerful metaphor for the nature of evil itself. Unlike more grandiose forms of malevolence, his is a petty, pervasive, almost banal evil. It is the evil of neglect, of decay allowed to fester, of small wrongs ignored until they become overwhelming. He does not need to strike down the righteous with lightning, he only needs to wait, to watch as their resolve weakens, their virtues erode. His power is in the everyday, in the constant presence of temptation, in the little compromises that accumulate like filth in a forgotten corner. He is the master of all that festers, when the light is gone, when vigilance lapses, when care is abandoned. There is also a deep humiliation in Beelzebub's reign. Flies are base, loathsome creatures, and to be swarmed by them is to be reduced, to be brought low. In his touch, pride becomes repulsive, beauty becomes grotesque, the powerful are made to crawl, the pure are made to stink. His corruption is not just destructive, but degrading, stripping away dignity, mocking the pretensions of humanity. Under his gaze, all are equal in their filth, all are reduced to the same writhing, decaying mass. He does not kill with honor, he kills with contempt, ensuring that his victims die not only defeated but defiled. In stories, Beelzebub's presence is often marked by the sudden appearance of flies, by an overwhelming stench, by a suffocating sense of pollution. These are not mere omens but manifestations of his essence, the physical symptoms of a spiritual disease. His arrival is rarely dramatic, it is a creeping doom, a slow suffocation. Rooms grow darker, air grows thicker, food spoils, water stagnates. Those who encounter him find their senses assaulted, their bodies weakened, their minds clouded. He does not need to speak to assert his power, his presence alone is enough to bring despair. Beelzebub's dominion over flies also links him to the concept of gluttony, not just in the sense of excessive consumption, but in the sense of an endless, mindless hunger. Flies consume ceaselessly, without satisfaction, drawn to rot and spreading it in turn. Beelzebub is gluttony made flesh, an appetite that cannot be sated. He embodies the futility of indulgence, the truth that the more one feeds the craving, the stronger it grows. Under his influence, desire becomes a trap, a cycle of wanting and consuming that leads only to emptiness. He does not tempt with grandeur, but with immediate accessible pleasures that rot even as they are enjoyed. His title as Lord of the Flies also carries a certain irony. Flies are small, seemingly insignificant, yet in their multitude, they become a force of nature. Beelzebub, in commanding them, reveals the power of the many over the mighty, the strength of what is low and despised. He is a king of vermin, a ruler of refuse, and yet his power rivals that of any infernal prince. This inversion of power reflects a deeper truth about corruption, that it does not need to be grand to be effective, that even the smallest crack can bring down the mightiest wall, if left unchecked. Beelzebub thrives in the overlooked, the unguarded, the spaces where no one thought to look. In this way, Beelzebub's title is both a warning and a revelation. It warns of the danger of neglect, of the ease with which purity can be tainted, of the swiftness with which rot can spread, and it reveals the true nature of evil, not always as a roaring beast, but as a swarm of small persistent things, each bite minor, each buzz ignorable, until the body is covered, the spirit overwhelmed. Beelzebub teaches that to stand against corruption, one must be vigilant, must guard not only against the great threats, but against the tiny ones, the ones that seem too small to matter. In the end, Beelzebub's dominion, as the Lord of the Flies, is a testament to the power of decay, the inevitability of corruption when left unchallenged. He is a constant presence, a shadow that waits at the edge of light, a whisper in the moments of doubt. He is not the loudest or the fiercest, but he is the most enduring, for rot is patient, and filth is relentless. To know Beelzebub is to know the cost of neglect, the price of indulgence, the peril of underestimating the small evils that swarm unseen, waiting for their moment to rise. Beelzebub stands as one of the most prominent and formidable figures in the infernal hierarchy, often referred to not only as the Lord of the Flies, but also as a chief demon, a prince among the damned. His role as a leader within the realms of hell is one of power, manipulation, and profound influence, commanding vast legions and shaping the dark politics of the underworld, with a cunning that is both fearsome and awe-inspiring. To understand Beelzebub as a chief demon is to delve into the intricate structures of hell, the dynamics of infernal rule, and the complex relationships between demons, souls, and the cosmic forces they oppose. Beelzebub's status as a prince of hell positions him at the very summit of demonic power, rivaled only by the likes of Satan himself and a select few others who hold dominion over vast territories and legions. He is not a solitary figure, nor is he merely a beast of destruction. He is a ruler, a strategist, a sovereign over corruption and decay. His court is one of whispers and schemes, where power is both exercised and contested through means far subtler than brute force. Beelzebub's rule is characterized by control over the minds and hearts of both demons and the damned, his authority rooted in fear, respect, and the inevitable draw of his influence. In the grand design of hell, Beelzebub's dominion extends across domains steeped in filth and gluttony, but his reach is not confined to physical realms. He is a master of influence, capable of corrupting not just places, but systems, institutions, and ideologies. His armies are not only composed of monstrous entities, but also of ideas, of lies and temptations that infiltrate the minds of mortals and the halls of power on earth. Beelzebub's strategy is not to conquer through war alone, but through the slow, insidious spread of decay, through the erosion of virtue, and the amplification of vice. As a chief demon, Beelzebub commands legions of lesser demons, each tasked with spreading specific forms of corruption and destruction. These underlings serve as extensions of his will, carrying out his decrees with fanatical devotion. Among them are demons of gluttony, pestilence, sloth, and greed, all feeding into the grand design of moral collapse that Beelzebub orchestrates. His leadership is absolute, maintained not only through terror, but through the promise of power, through the rewards granted to those who serve him well in the spreading of his dominion. Beelzebub's court is a place of endless intrigue, where alliances are forged and broken, where demons vie for favor, and where betrayal is both expected and welcomed as a test of cunning. In this realm, Beelzebub sits as a king among serpents, his mind ever calculating, ever watching. He knows the desires of those who serve him, and he manipulates these desires with a precision that ensures their loyalty, or at least their obedience. His rule is not just about domination, it is about control of the self, of others, and of the very forces that bind hell together. His relationship with Satan is complex and multifaceted. In some traditions, Beelzebub is seen as second only to Satan, his closest lieutenant and most trusted advisor. In others, he is a rival, seeking to usurp the throne or to carve out his own kingdom within the infernal realms. This tension adds depth to his character, presenting him not just as a servant of evil, but as an ambitious power in his own right, one who seeks to shape the destiny of hell according to his vision. Whether as a loyal vassal or a hidden adversary, Beelzebub's presence at the heart of hell's politics is undeniable. Beelzebub's influence also extends to the mortal realm, where he plays a key role in the corruption of humanity. He is not content to rule in hell alone. His ambition reaches across the veil into the world of the living, where he sows the seeds of gluttony, envy, and despair. His power is felt in the fall of great cities, in the decay of noble institutions, in the hearts of rulers who trade integrity for indulgence. Beelzebub does not merely tempt individuals, he corrupts cultures, steering them towards self-destruction through the pursuit of excess and the abandonment of restraint. This manipulation of the mortal world is part of what makes Beelzebub so dangerous. He understands the weaknesses of humanity, their desires, their fears, their endless hunger for more. He exploits these weaknesses with skill, offering what seems sweet, only for it to turn to ash. His influence is not always recognized, for he works in shadows, through whispers, through the gradual normalization of vice. A city may fall to ruin, not through war, but through the slow erosion of its values, the creeping advance of indulgence and corruption, until nothing of its former glory remains. Beelzebub's power is also deeply tied to his intellect. He is not a mindless force of destruction, but a thinker, a planner. His schemes are long in the making, his goals far-reaching. He sees the world not just as it is, but as it could be under his rule, and every action he takes is a step towards this vision. His intelligence makes him a formidable foe, for he anticipates resistance, prepares for it, and often turns it to his advantage. Those who oppose him find themselves caught in a web of their own making, their efforts twisted to serve his ends. His court is a reflection of this intellect, a place of debate and strategy, where demons present plans and seek approval, where failures are punished not with rage, but with cold, calculated retribution. Beelzebub values results. and he rewards those who deliver, regardless of the means. This meritocratic aspect of his rule ensures a constant drive among his followers to outdo one another, to find new ways to spread corruption, to earn his favor through ingenuity and effectiveness. Despite his focus on gluttony and decay, Beelzebub's ambitions are anything but base. He seeks not just the fall of man, but the subversion of divine order itself. His war is not only against virtue, but against the very idea of sanctity, of purity. He delights in turning what is holy into what is profane, in mocking the sacred by showing its fallibility. His greatest triumphs are not in destruction alone, but in the perversion of what was once held as good. A temple defiled, a priest corrupted, a hero turned tyrant. These are the victories that feed his pride, that affirm his place as a true prince of darkness. Beelzebub's leadership style is one of balance between terror and reward, between chaos and control. He understands that to rule is to maintain a delicate equilibrium, to allow enough freedom for ambition to flourish, but not so much that it threatens his own position. He fosters an environment where fear and desire are tools, where every demon under his command knows that their fate is in his hands, that their success depends on their usefulness to his cause. His rule is absolute, but it is also cunning, crafted to endure. In the grand hierarchy of hell, Beelzebub's presence is a constant reminder of the power of corruption, of the strength found in decay. He is a figure of dread, of respect, of inevitable influence. His name is spoken with caution, his favor sought with trepidation. He is a prince not because he demands loyalty, but because he commands it, because he embodies the very essence of infernal majesty, a being of vast power, of deep cunning, and of unrelenting will. In stories, Beelzebub serves as a central figure in the dynamics of hell and its interaction with the world. His role as a chief demon provides a framework for tales of ambition, of betrayal, of the eternal struggle between light and darkness. Characters who encounter him face not only a formidable enemy, but a reflection of their own weaknesses, their own potential for corruption. To stand against Beelzebub is to confront not just the might of hell, but the seductive nature of power itself, the lure of influence, the ease with which one can fall. Ultimately, Beelzebub's place as a chief demon is a testament to the enduring nature of his archetype. He is not just a monster to be feared, but a ruler to be reckoned with, a symbol of the dark possibilities that lie within all hierarchies, all ambitions. His dominion is over more than flies and filth. It is over the very structures that bind the world, the unseen forces that shape destiny. Through him, the narrative of hell gains depth and complexity, revealing not just a place of punishment, but a realm of order, of purpose, of terrible beauty. Beelzebub's dominion over gluttony and excess is not merely a reflection of base hunger, but an intricate and profound embodiment of insatiable desire, of consumption turned into a curse, of indulgence that devours the soul as surely as it does the body. He is not just a figure of overfeeding or grotesque indulgence in food and drink. Rather, he represents the limitless craving that drives beings to devour more than they need, more than they can bear, until they are consumed by the very things they sought to possess. Gluttony under Beelzebub's rule is both a sin and a sentence, a path that leads to ruin wrapped in the illusion of satisfaction. At the heart of gluttony lies the promise of fulfillment, a promise that more will make us whole, that to indulge is to live, that to deny oneself is to suffer. Beelzebub is the master of this lie, the whisperer who insists that hunger is never to be resisted, that desire is not to be tempered but unleashed. He teaches that the purpose of life is to consume, to take in all that one can, whether it be food, pleasure, wealth, or even the admiration of others. Under his influence, moderation is mocked, restraint is weakness, and self-control is a chain to be broken. Beelzebub's gluttony extends beyond physical appetite. It is a hunger for more in every sense, more power, more recognition, more control. He represents a force that urges individuals to take and take, never satisfied, never content. His followers are not merely gluttonous for food, but for everything the world offers. They gorge on experiences, on possessions, on sensations, seeking always the next indulgence, the next thrill. And yet, each indulgence leaves them emptier than before, for Beelzebub's gift is not true satisfaction, but the curse of endless want. This endless want is central to Beelzebub's power. He does not need to force his victims. He only needs to awaken their desires and let them pursue their doom. The glutton is not driven by external compulsion, but by an internal void, a need that grows with every attempt to fill it. Beelzebub feeds this void, nurturing it, making it seem natural, even noble. To desire is to be alive, he whispers, and to stop desiring is to die. He turns need into identity, making the glutton believe that their cravings define them, that they are nothing without the constant pursuit of more. In this way, Beelzebub's gluttony becomes a form of slavery. His followers are chained not by iron, but by their own appetites, their lives governed by the need to acquire, to consume, to indulge. They become prisoners of excess, their days a cycle of hunger and fleeting relief, never finding peace, never knowing rest. Their bodies grow heavy, their minds dull, their spirits wither, yet still they crave. Beelzebub ensures that they never see the bars of their cage, that they believe they are free even as they are led deeper into bondage. The physical manifestations of Beelzebub's influence are grotesque and terrible. Under his sway, the body becomes a temple of decay, a monument to excess. The glutton's flesh swells, distorts, becomes a caricature of itself, each pound a testament to indulgence unchecked. The senses, once sharp and alive, become dulled by overuse, the palate jaded, the touch numb. Food, once a source of joy, becomes a compulsion, a burden, yet still they eat, for to stop is to face the emptiness that Beelzebub has cultivated within them. But the decay is not only of the body, it is of the soul. Gluttony under Beelzebub leads to a spiritual corruption, a turning inward that blinds the glutton to all but their own needs. Compassion fades, empathy dies, for others become obstacles or tools in the pursuit of satisfaction. Relationships are strained or broken, as the glutton can see only their own hunger, their own desire. Beelzebub isolates his followers, not by force, but by making them incapable of seeing beyond themselves. Their world narrows, until it consists only of what they can consume and what they can crave. This isolation breeds despair. Though the glutton may seem joyous in their indulgence, beneath the surface lies a deep and gnawing sorrow. They sense, even if they do not acknowledge it, that their desires will never be met, that the more they take, the less they have. Beelzebub plays upon this despair, turning it into another reason to indulge. Why not eat, drink, consume, if all is meaningless? Why not seek pleasure, if nothing else can be trusted? He twists sorrow into justification, ensuring that the cycle continues, that the glutton feeds not only their body but their despair, their guilt, their self-loathing. Beelzebub's dominion over gluttony is also political, societal. He influences not only individuals but cultures, turning entire cities, nations, even civilizations into reflections of his creed. He fosters systems that glorify excess, that equate success with consumption, that teach from birth that to want is to live, and to have is to triumph. Under his influence, markets flourish not through need but through desire, economies grow on the backs of waste, and the earth itself groans beneath the weight of human greed. He is present in every feast that ignores famine, in every luxury built on the backs of the suffering, in every celebration of wealth that turns a blind eye to want. In these societies, Beelzebub is not seen as a demon, but as a benefactor. His values are the norm, his influence so pervasive that it is invisible. Gluttony becomes not a sin but a virtue, a sign of success, of status. The thin are pitied or despised, the moderate mocked, the self-controlled viewed with suspicion. He thrives in this environment, his power growing with every transaction, every indulgence, every act of selfishness dressed as freedom. He does not need to hide, for his presence is welcomed, his gift sought after, his curse embraced. Yet, even in the midst of his power, there are those who see through the lie. There are moments fleeting but real, when the glutton feels the weight of their chains, when the sweetness turns to ash, when the desire falters. In these moments, the truth of Beelzebub's dominion becomes clear, that gluttony is not abundance, but emptiness, not joy, but slavery. Some turn away, seeking escape, seeking a life not governed by hunger, but Beelzebub does not release them easily. He calls them back with promises, with memories, with the fear of what lies beyond desire. To leave him is to face the void, to confront the self stripped of its cravings, to live without the constant rush of indulgence. Stories of Beelzebub's gluttony often center on this struggle, the battle between desire and fulfillment, between indulgence and restraint. Characters who fall under his influence must navigate the treacherous path of excess, must face the consequences of their choices, must decide whether to surrender or to fight. These tales are not just about food or wealth, they are about the nature of desire itself, about the human tendency to seek solace in consumption, to avoid pain through indulgence, to measure worth in what can be taken. Beelzebub, as the demon of gluttony, serves as a mirror, reflecting the darkest aspects of human craving. He shows us what happens when desire is unchained, when hunger becomes the master, when the pursuit of more becomes the only goal. He warns of the cost of excess, not just in health or wealth, but in soul, in spirit, in the ability to connect, to care, to be. His power is real, his influence vast, but his kingdom is built on lies, on the illusion that more will bring happiness, that to consume is to be fulfilled. To defeat Beelzebub is not to stop desiring, for desire is part of life. It is to understand desire, to master it, to choose when to indulge and when to abstain. It is to find joy, not in excess, but in balance, not in taking but in giving, not in filling the void, but in accepting it. Those who escape his grasp do so not by denying themselves everything, but by reclaiming their will, their identity, their ability to say enough. They learn that true satisfaction does not come from Beelzebub's feast, but from the strength to walk away. Beelzebub's origins as a demon are intricately tied to the transformation of ancient deities into symbols of evil, a process through which the gods of one age or culture become the devils of another. To understand Beelzebub fully is to delve into this journey from divinity to demonhood, from reverence to revulsion, and to explore the themes of power's corruption, religious rivalry, and the enduring influence of myth reinterpreted over centuries. Beelzebub was not always a creature of filth and decay, nor was he always the embodiment of gluttony and pestilence. His fall from the status of a respected deity to one of the most reviled figures in demonology reflects a broader human tendency to demonize the old gods of conquered peoples, reshaping them into warnings and adversaries in newer religious narratives. Long before Beelzebub became a chief demon in Christian demonology, his name and identity were likely rooted in the worship of Belial, a powerful god revered in ancient Canaanite and Philistine traditions. Belial, whose name simply means Lord or Master, was a storm and fertility god associated with rain, agriculture, and the cycles of nature. He was not a minor figure, but a central one, invoked by kings and commoners alike, his power believed to sustain life and prosperity. Temples were built in his honor, rituals performed to secure his favor, and his image was one of strength and vitality. However, as the influence of monotheistic religions like Judaism grew, the gods of neighboring peoples came under scrutiny and condemnation. To the emerging worshippers of a singular, all-powerful deity, the existence of other gods posed not just a theological challenge, but a political and cultural one. In the struggle to assert the supremacy of one god over many, the old deities were not merely dismissed, they were vilified, their temples desecrated, their worshippers persecuted. The once great Beelzebub became Beelzebul, Lord of the High Place, a title that was twisted into Beelzebub, Lord of the Flies, a name reeking of contempt and mockery. This transformation was not just a matter of semantics, but of identity. The god of storms and fertility was reimagined as a demon of filth and decay, his dominion no longer over life-giving rains, but over the swarms of flies that feed on death. This inversion served a powerful purpose, to delegitimize the worship of Beelzebub by associating him with the most despised aspects of existence. Flies, carriers of disease, dwellers in excrement, became his symbols, and through them Beelzebub was reduced from a figure of awe to one of revulsion. His power was not denied, but it was recast as something malignant, something to be feared and rejected. Beelzebub's demonization reflects a broader pattern seen throughout history, where the gods of the defeated are demonized by the victors. This process is not merely a rewriting of mythology, but a reshaping of cultural memory. By turning gods into demons, new religious movements could assert their moral and spiritual superiority, presenting themselves as the true faith in contrast to the false and dangerous practices of the past. Beelzebub, as a demon, becomes a cautionary tale about the dangers of idolatry, a figure used to warn against the seductive power of older pagan traditions. Yet, even in his fall, Beelzebub retained echoes of his former glory. His position as a chief demon, as one of the princes of hell, suggests a residual respect for the power he once held. He is not cast down entirely, rather he is integrated into the new cosmology as a formidable adversary. His strength, once a source of life, becomes a source of temptation and corruption. His wisdom, once sought by kings, becomes a tool for manipulation and deceit. In this way, Beelzebub's transformation is not complete obliteration but adaptation, a reshaping that allows him to persist in a new, darker form. This continuity between god and demon can be seen in the attributes that Beelzebub retains. As Beel, he was a master of the elements, a bringer of storms. As Beelzebub, he is still associated with forces beyond human control, but these are now the forces of decay and pestilence. The storm becomes a plague, the rain becomes rot, and the fertility he once bestowed becomes a bloated, gluttonous excess. His dominion over life becomes dominion over death, yet the underlying theme remains: Beelzebub is a figure of power, of forces that shape the world in ways both feared and revered. The transformation of Beelzebub from god to demon also speaks to the shifting perceptions of power itself. As a god, Beel represented a direct connection to the natural world, a deity whose favor ensured survival in a harsh environment. His worship was rooted in the rhythms of the earth, in the cycles of planting and harvest, drought and flood. As societies evolved, particularly under the influence of monotheistic religions, this connection was viewed with suspicion. The raw, untamed power of nature, once revered, became something to be controlled, to be seen as part of the fallen world rather than a reflection of the divine. Beelzebub, in his demonized form, becomes a symbol of that which is wild and unclean, a reminder of the chaos that lies outside the bounds of the new sacred order. Moreover, Beelzebub's fall highlights the theme of power's corruption. In his earlier incarnation, he was a protector, a sustainer. As a demon, he represents what happens when power is turned inward, when it serves not to nurture but to dominate and destroy. His association with gluttony is particularly telling in this regard. The god who once ensured abundance becomes the demon who consumes without end, whose hunger is a perversion of the fertility he once provided. This shift mirrors the human fear that power, unchecked by morality or purpose, inevitably leads to ruin. In this sense, Beelzebub's story is not just about religious transformation, but about the nature of power itself. He is a figure who has seen both heights and depths, who knows what it is to be worshipped and what it is to be reviled. His fall is a cautionary tale about the impermanence of status, about the thin line between reverence and fear. He reminds us that power, whether divine or demonic, is a force that must be understood, respected, and above all, carefully wielded. Beelzebub's enduring presence in demonology also reflects the human tendency to externalize and personify the darker aspects of our own nature. As a god, he was a projection of hopes and needs. As a demon, he becomes a projection of fears and failures. His gluttony, his filth, his corruption, they are not just traits of a monstrous being, but reflections of human excess, of the appetites that drive us and the consequences they bring. By demonizing Beelzebub, societies could distance themselves from these uncomfortable truths, could place the blame for their own moral decay on an external force, a scapegoat born of ancient reverence turned to revulsion. Yet, in facing Beelzebub, in telling his story, there is also an opportunity for reflection and understanding. His fall from God to demon is not just a story of defeat, but of transformation, of continuity through change. It challenges us to consider the ways in which we define good and evil, the ways in which we remember and reinterpret the past. It invites us to look beyond the surface, to see the complexities beneath the labels, to understand that even in darkness there is a history, a memory of something greater. Beelzebub's dual identity as both ancient god and modern demon makes him a figure of profound depth, a symbol of the enduring power of myth to adapt and survive. He is a relic of a forgotten pantheon, yet he lives on, reshaped by time, by belief, by the ever-changing needs of those who tell his story. Through him we glimpse the fluidity of divinity, the malleability of memory, and the eternal dance between reverence and fear. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Like and subscribe for more, and stay curious.